Blessings. Welcome to today's Law Enforcement Daily Devotional. Today we're in Exodus chapters 25 through 27. And lots of symbolism, but a question I want to address that I have heard before and I've asked before, especially when I started doing a daily read of the Bible several years ago. I would get to places like this in Exodus and some in Leviticus and Deuteronomy, and would ask, why do I need to read this? Why do I care what the measurements of the tent for the temple or just other things that pop up? Why do I care what color fabric they used? But as I continued reading and continued on year after year in plans, I started realizing how the things that I would read come up again later and would bring meaning to a story. Like a lot of the stories in 1st and 2nd Samuel, when we talk about David, King David would use the ephod, or he would call for a priest that had the ephod, and he would inquire of God. And here in chapter 28 is where we learn what the ephod is and God's instruction on how to make it, what pieces, what rocks were used, what colors of stones were used, what names were put on the colors of the stones, and it really brings the story to life. And again, these stones are very similar to stones that are used in Revelation when we start reading, and we see these stones with similar names on them, and there's 12 of each. And so you can go back to Exodus and go, man, that's why that was important. And speaking of Revelation, in chapter 25 we see the golden lampstands, and you may be reading that and go, why do I care about a candle or a lampstand? But in Revelation, right at the beginning, chapter 1, when he's talking about the churches, they're represented by these 7 golden lampstands, which we saw right here when God was saying, make 7 golden lampstands for the temple. This is really important stuff. And as we go through these things that may seem mundane or silly, are not. They are very important, and it's real easy for us to overlook them. And like I say, I did it for years, just kind of glancing over, this part so I could get to a really cool part, like something out of the Judges when, Gideon's fighting, or when David's fighting, the really rich, cool stories. But these are just as important, so we don't want to overlook them. And today's read was all about some of these things that come up later and are really important. Talked about 25. I think it was 26 maybe that I got to, or maybe 27. I got to where it talks about the oil for the lampstand, and immediately my mind went to where Jesus is telling the parable of the 10 virgins, and they all brought lamps, but 5 of them were prepared and had the oil for their lamp, and 5 didn't. And the story goes, 5 left to go get more oil, and while they were gone, the ones who were prepared and brought the oil were allowed entry. And it's interesting what the oil represents there and how it translates over and what it represents here. It's very important, but it's very cool to know some of the background stories as you get to some of these other things. So my law enforcement takeaway: investigate. Read these things as important and not just, I've got to get through today's read. Take the time and look at them, make some notes, and who knows, later on you may find something that you connect the dots to, that God has revealed to you that no one has ever told you before, but you're like, I read that once before, and you can go back and look it up, and then you can share with the rest of us. So again, great takeaway today: investigate, pay attention to the details. Sometimes the little things are the ones that can break a case. And just like this, sometimes the little details are the ones that will give you the greatest revelation and meaning when you get to a story later on. So keep that in mind as we go into our reading tomorrow. We're in Exodus 28 and 29, just 2 chapters. So you guys be safe, and I look forward to seeing you back here again tomorrow.